Welcome, fellow mystery seekers, to the third episode of Restless Killers and Mysteries with Roger Heilig. I'm Roger, your guide to the wild and wonderful world of nature's most unpredictable and fascinating forces. Today we're turning our attention to a slumbering giant that woke up with a bang, the formidable Mount St. Helens. Now, before you think, oh no, not another boring geography lesson, let me assure you, this is far from that. If you've ever wondered what happens when Mother Nature decides to throw one monumental temper tantrum, then buckle up, because the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980 is one wild ride you don't want to miss. Picture this, it's a serene morning in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Birds are chirping, the air is crisp, and towering evergreens are swaying gently in the breeze. And then, without much warning, a mountain decides it's had enough. It throws off its serene facade in a spectacularly destructive display of power. So what makes Mount St. Helens so special? Well, for starters, it's not just your average mountain, it's a volcano. And not just any volcano, but one that's part of the infamous Ring of Fire, a major area in the basin of the Pacific Ocean where a large number of quakes and volcanic eruptions occur. Now, doesn't that sound fancy? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Today we'll journey through the events leading up to that fateful day on May 18, 1980. We'll talk about the warning signs, the eruption itself, and the aftermath that transformed the landscape and forever changed the lives of those living nearby. Now, if you're picturing a slow, lava-spewing giant like something out of a cheesy sci-fi movie, think again. Mount St. Helens' 1980 spectacle was far more dramatic and catastrophic. Picture a massive explosion, a colossal ash cloud that darkened the skies, and an earth-shattering landslide. Don't worry if you're not a geology buff, I'll keep it simple and entertaining. So, get ready for an adventure into the heart of one of nature's most dramatic events. Grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's dive into the captivating and astonishing story of Mount St. Helens. Close your eyes and imagine the Pacific Northwest. Picture a land so verdant you wonder if green has a special meaning here. The Pacific Northwest is famed for its lush forests, towering trees that stretch so high it feels like they could hold up the sky. This region is like nature's luxury suite, peppered with dense woods, roaring rivers, and dramatic cliffs that form an unbroken tapestry of wilderness. Now, zoom in on the Cascade Range, an impressive chain of mountains stretching from British Columbia down to Northern California. The Cascades are a geological soap opera characterized by dramatic events both above and below the Earth's surface. They're the guardians of the Pacific Northwest, with their rugged peaks often shrouded in mist and mystery. Among these peaks lies an unassuming yet majestic volcano, Mount St. Helens. Before 1980, this stratovolcano was a serene and silent giant, wearing its snow-capped peak like a crown. It was the kind of place where you could imagine fairies might reside, nestled quietly between the evergreens and alpine meadows. Mount St. Helens wasn't the tallest nor the most prominent of the Cascades, but it possessed a quiet dignity that captivated everyone who laid eyes on it. In the years leading up to its infamous eruption, Mount St. Helens seemed quite peaceful. It was a popular spot for hikers, campers, and anyone looking to escape the humdrum of everyday life. It stood as a testament to the tranquil beauty of the natural world, offering breathtaking views and a sanctuary for local wildlife. Deer grazed in its shadow, birds filled the air with song, and alpine flowers burst into color during the warmer months. On any given day, you might have found families picnicking at its base, unaware that this sleeping giant held a brewing storm within. Geologically speaking, Mount St. Helens is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, a horseshoe-shaped ring of volcanoes and seismic activity that stretches around the edges of the Pacific Ocean. The Ring of Fire is known for its fiery temperament, causing more than its fair share of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. And nestled within this ring, Mount St. Helens was a volcano built over millennia through layers of lava, ash, and pumice. Its geological history is a narrative of cyclical creation and destruction, an ancient saga told in rock and time. Before we dive into the 1980 eruption, it's worth noting that volcanic activity in the Cascade Range isn't just a thing of the past. These mountains are living, breathing entities in geological terms, continuously shaped and reshaped by powerful tectonic forces. St. Helens itself had previous eruptions, the most notable in the mid to late 1800s, continually reminding humanity that the Earth's crust is neither as stable nor as permanent as we'd often like to believe. So, while Mount St. Helens may have seemed dormant in the early months of 1980, make no mistake, it was very much alive, quietly biding its time and drawing upon the immense energy stored deep within the Earth. And the Pacific Northwest, with its stoic beauty and rugged landscapes, was about to become the stage for one of nature's most breathtaking performances. As we set this scene, let's put ourselves in the shoes of those who live nearby. Imagine waking up to the crisp morning air, coffee in hand, looking out at the tranquil silhouette of Mount St. Helens. Perhaps you'd even chuckle at its modesty compared to the more towering peaks like Mount Rainier or Mount Hood. Life here was serene, almost deceptively so. No one could have foreseen how drastically that peaceful existence would be shattered. how this charming, unassuming mountain would etch itself indelibly into the annals of history. Prepare yourself as we transition from the tranquil beauty of the Cascade Range to the ominous signs that would soon spell disaster. Let's delve into the early rumblings and portents that signaled Mount St. Helens' awakening. Stay tuned as we uncover the buildup leading to one of North America's most dramatic natural events. Alright, buckle up as we dive into the early warning signs and rumblings that hinted Mount St. Helens was gearing up for something massive. Picture it. Spring of 1980, the Pacific Northwest. The residents had no inkling of the volcanic drama about to unfold right in their backyard. But Mother Nature, as always, started dropping hints. First up, the swarm of earthquakes. It all began on March 16, 1980. Mount St. Helens decided it was time to shake things up, literally. Seismographs started picking up tremors beneath the volcano, and not just one or two. We're talking multiple quakes, cascading in quick succession. To put it in perspective, by late March, there were over 2,000 earthquakes recorded. That's not just a rumble, that's a full-on volcanic symphony warming up. Now, earthquakes aren't uncommon in volcanic regions. These fault lines are always jittering around, but the sheer quantity and intensity under St. Helens were unusual. It was like the volcano was clearing its throat, getting ready for the main event. These quakes signaled that magma, molten rock from the Earth's mantle, was on the move, forcing its way upwards. The pressure was building, and you didn't need a geologist to sense that something big was coming. But wait, it gets better. By the end of March, the mountains started showing off visible signs of distress. Enter the steam blasts. On March 27, a plume of ash and steam erupted from the summit, shooting nearly 7,000 feet into the air. It was as if Mount St. Helens was giving a visual shout-out, saying, "Hey, pay attention." This phreatic eruption, as it's called, happens when groundwater is heated by magma until it flashes to steam, causing explosive blasts. Locals and scientists alike gathered to witness these steam vents, and the sight was mesmerizing. Imagine watching what was, for all intents and purposes, nature's pressure cooker releasing steam. It wasn't just a spectacle, it was a critical clue. These steam blasts were the volcano's way of venting some pressure, but they were also a harbinger of bigger things to come. Here's another twist. The bulge. Yep, the north flank of the mountains started to swell. Day by day it expanded outward, sometimes growing by as much as 5 feet in a single day. This bulge indicated that magma was pooling just beneath the surface, causing the mountainside to inflate. Think of it like blowing up a balloon, except this balloon was a piece of solid earth being pushed and deformed by unstoppable forces. Meanwhile, scientists were in a race against time to understand what these signs meant. Volcano monitoring in the 80s wasn't as advanced as today, but teams hurried to set up equipment and study the growing threat. Geologists analyzing the bulging slope realized they were looking at the early stages of a potential lateral blast, a side eruption that could unleash catastrophic energy. As the days ticked by, it became clear that an eruption was imminent, but predicting the exact moment was another story. The suspense was like waiting for the drop in a thriller movie, except this time, the stakes were real. Local authorities warned residents of the potential danger and set up an exclusion zone around the volcano. Still, curiosity got the better of many, with sightseers flocking to witness the Restless mountain. All these warning signs, the earthquakes, the steam eruptions, the growing bulge, were nature's ominous build-up to a grand finale. Mount St. Helens was loud and clear with its signals, and those who understood them knew the clock was ticking. The early rumblings had set the stage for an event that would etch itself into the history books and change the landscape forever. So there you have it, folks. The rumblings and tremors, each small episode, were chapters leading up to an explosive climax. Mount St. Helens was making no secret of its intentions. It was just a matter of when, not if, the Big Bang would blow. Alright folks, buckle up because we're about to dive headfirst into the chaotic, awe-inspiring day of May 18, 1980, the day Mount St. Helens really showed the world what it was capable of. It all started in the wee hours of the morning. Picture it. The sun hadn't even peeked over the horizon yet, and Mount St. Helens was already grumbling in its sleep. Seismographs around the mountain were lighting up like a Christmas tree with earthquake swarms, a sure sign that the volcano was getting ready to make its grand entrance. At precisely 8:32 a.m., the mountain let out a literal earth-shattering roar. What kicked off these chain of catastrophic events wasn't just a simple eruption, it was a massive landslide. In fact, it was the largest debris avalanche ever recorded in human history. Think of it as a giant molten conveyor belt moving millions of tons of earth down the mountain at breakneck speed. The north face of the mountain slid away, leading to a dramatic and sudden lateral blast. And oh boy, what a blast it was. Imagine Mount St. Helens behaving like a shaken soda bottle finally uncorked. The lateral explosion instantly heated up to over 600 degrees Fahrenheit, and it raced outward at nearly 300 miles per hour. If you were standing 10 miles away, you still wouldn't be safe. The force was so immense that it leveled everything in its path, flattening some 230 square miles of forest in a matter of seconds. Trees that had stood for hundreds of years were snapped like matchsticks and flung aside like toys. The ash cloud that resulted was another spectacle entirely. It shot up into the sky, reaching a height of 15 miles in just 15 minutes. Talk about explosive growth. Imagine looking up and seeing a dark, monstrous plume mushrooming into the stratosphere, blotting out the sun. Day turned to night for those close by, while those further away soon experienced what looked like a bizarre, ashy snowstorm. This cloud wasn't just a dramatic light show though, it was filled with tons of pulverized rock, volcanic glass, and scorching hot gases. Meanwhile, pyroclastic flows, which are fast-moving currents of hot gas and volcanic matter, were speeding down the sides of the volcano at hundreds of miles per hour. These flows, reaching temperatures high enough to melt most metals, incinerated everything in their path. They were lethally quick and utterly devastating, engulfing valleys and scorching rivers. The chaos didn't end quickly either. For 9 straight hours, the eruption continued almost non-stop. Imagine a cauldron boiling over and over without pause. Lava flowed, ash fell, and seismic activity continued. This wasn't just an eruption, it was a marathon of volcanic fury. The explosion had immediate, tragic human costs. 57 people lost their lives, caught in the unforgiving onslaught. Many were campers, scientists, and locals who either underestimated the volcano's power or didn't receive timely warnings. Their loss is a haunting reminder of nature's unpredictability and might. But the reach of the event went far beyond the devastation at ground zero. The ash cloud didn't just hang over Mount St. Helens, it traveled across the United States, reaching as far as the East Coast within days. Flights were grounded, schools were closed, and people had to wear masks to venture outside. Piles of ash several inches thick blanketed towns and fields alike, creating a surreal and eerie landscape. Back at the volcano, the landscape was dramatically transformed. The once lush northern flank of Mount St. Helens had given way to a gaping crater, a smoldering reminder of the mountain's explosive power. Spirit Lake, a popular spot for fishing and hiking, was filled with a slurry of volcanic debris, its water levels rising dramatically. The eruption was a cataclysmic event that showcased both the beauty and terror of volcanic activity. It forces us to respect the raw, unbridled power of nature. Anyway, it's clear that Mount St. Helens went from a tranquil, picturesque peak to a symbol of volcanic fury in the blink of an eye. So there you have it, folks. That fateful day, May 18, 1980, was a wild ride of geological upheaval and volcanic drama that reshaped our understanding of these restless killers forever. Hold on to these images: the landslide, the blast, the endless ash cloud. They show us just how small we are in the grand scheme of things, and how mighty Mother Nature truly is. After the explosion, the first thing that hit everyone was the sheer scale of the damage. Imagine over 200 square miles of forest flattened as if a colossal cosmic foot had stomped down. The blast took less than a minute, but it leveled everything in its path. Trees snapped like toothpicks, roads erased, and river valleys choked with debris. It was like turning a thriving wilderness into a lunar landscape. As if the blast wasn't enough, there was also the colossal landslide, which became the largest in recorded history, racing down the mountainside at breakneck speeds, carrying with it centuries of geological history. For the locals who witnessed it, it felt like Mother Nature had a vendetta against everything in sight. This massive debris avalanche, coupled with the blast, created an enormous crater, transforming Mount St. Helens from a symmetrical peak to a decapitated colossus. Then came the ash. Oh, the ash. It didn't just stay around Mount St. Helens, of course. No. It swirled into the sky, turning day into night, and traveled far and wide, reaching as far as a couple of thousand miles away. You'd think it might have resembled a light dusting, but in places like Yakima, Washington, ash fell thick, turning streets into alien avenues of gray. People had to wear masks, not just because of COVID-19, a little leap in time there, but because the ash was damaging to breathe in, irritating eyes and throats alike. Streams and rivers around the mountain were choked with all kinds of sediment and debris, leading to massive flooding and mud flows known as lahars. These lahars surged down valleys, obliterating everything in their way. Bridges, homes, and even entire towns were caught in their muddy grip. The economic losses were staggering, with property damage reaching into the hundreds of millions. Now, you might be wondering, what about the wildlife? Sadly, the eruption was devastating for local flora and fauna. Trees were uprooted, animals were killed either by the blast, the pyroclastic flows, or by the suffocating ash. Entire ecosystems were quite literally uprooted and buried. However, and here's where it gets fascinating, the region has shown amazing resilience. In the years since the eruption, scientists have observed a kind of ecological renaissance. Life found a way. Hardy pioneer plants started to grow, attracting the insects, birds, and eventually larger animals back to the area. Mount St. Helens transformed into a living laboratory for scientists studying how ecosystems recover from major disturbances. But let's not forget the human impact. Dozens of lives were tragically lost on that day, including the famously defiant Harry R. Truman, who refused to leave his lodge near Spirit Lake. Entire communities were displaced, and the locals went through a period of mourning and rebuilding. Federal aid poured in, and over time, people started to rebuild their lives amidst the altered landscape. Long-term, the eruption also had a significant impact on the local economy. Timber industries that once thrived in the lush forests around the volcano were decimated. However, on the flip side, Mount St. Helens became a huge draw for tourism. People wanted to see the aftermath, the raw, unadulterated power of a volcano laid bare. The eruption site turned into a natural museum, attracting curious onlookers, geologists, and thrill-seekers from all over the world. Environmentally, the area around the volcano became a prime example of ecological succession. Scientists documented how life returned to the barren land, how different species adapted, and how the landscape slowly but surely healed itself. Although it will take centuries for the ecosystem to fully recover, the transformation has already provided invaluable insights into the resilience of nature. The eruption of Mount St. Helens also had a long-term impact on science, particularly in the field of volcanology, but we'll dive into that in the next section. For now, it's clear that the 1980 eruption was far more than just a local event. Its immediate destruction and subsequent rebirth made it a powerful story of nature's destructive yet regenerative power. So, as you sip your coffee, tea, or perhaps something stronger, hey, no judgment here. Take a moment to reflect on the sheer power that lies beneath our feet. The ground we stand on, often taken for granted, is part of a living, breathing planet with forces that can change our world in ways we can scarcely imagine. And Mount St. Helens is a vivid, albeit humbling, reminder of that fact. When Mount St. Helens blew its top in 1980, it wasn't just a spectacle of nature's might, it was a pivotal moment for science. The sea isn't just an event that swept a bit of ash and left it at that. It dug into the roots of volcanology and redefined our understanding in ways we had never expected. So let's roll our sleeves up and delve into what we've learned and how we got tuned in to Mother Nature's explosive messages. First, let's talk about the importance of monitoring equipment. Prior to the eruption, scientists had some seismic stations, but the Mount St. Helens event underscored just how crucial it is to have robust monitoring networks. The swarm of earthquakes leading up to the eruption taught us that more seismic stations around volcanoes can help track magma movement. Nowadays, volcanoes around the world are monitored 24/7 with an arsenal of equipment: seismometers, GPS, gas sensors, and even satellites keeping a watchful eye from above. But monitoring alone isn't enough. You need to interpret the data correctly. In 1980, scientists knew something was up, but they didn't fully grasp how cataclysmic it would be. Fast forward to today, and we've developed more sophisticated models to predict volcanic behavior. By studying the seismic activity, gas emissions, and ground deformation at Mount St. Helens, researchers devised better forecasting methods. We learned to read the language of the Earth. Vibrations, gas puffs, and ground bulges turned into words and sentences that could potentially spell out future eruptions. One of the astonishing moments of the Mount St. Helens eruption was the lateral blast. Think of it as a volcanic side-eye. The landslide that unzipped the volcano laterally rather than vertically shocked many. Historically, eruptions were often envisioned as towering infernos reaching for the sky, a bit like the dramatic smoke signals from classic movies. Mount St. Helens rewrote that script, showing us that volcanic blasts can spread sideways, which are just as, if not even more, devastating. This realization prompted scientists to rethink not just the areas at risk but how far-reaching the destruction could be. We also made leaps in understanding pyroclastic flows, the lethal, fast-moving currents of hot gas and volcanic matter. These deadly clouds, which engulf the landscape in temperatures hot enough to incinerate trees and everything else in their path, reshaped our emergency response strategies. Post-Mount St. Helens, the dire potential of pyroclastic flows became clearer, leading to better evacuation plans and communication strategies to save lives. Then there's the ashfall. The 1980 eruption sent an ash plume 15 miles into the air, and the repercussions were felt far and wide. The ash disrupted air travel, clogged rivers, and smothered ecosystems. In its gritty haze, we gleaned the necessity for better ash distribution forecasting. Today we use computer models to predict ash dispersion, allowing us to mitigate damage and alteration of water supplies and prepare the aviation industry for potential hazards. Most importantly, Mount St. Helens underscored the importance of clear communication between scientists, authorities, and the public. When a volcano decides to go all Vesuvius on us, it's crucial that everyone understands what's happening. The eruption led to the development of the U.S. Geological Survey's Volcano Disaster Assistance Program, VDAP, which ensures that knowledge is shared promptly, clearly, and accurately to minimize panic and maximize preparedness. From the geological to the societal level, the 1980 eruption was a game-changer. It wasn't just a seismic event, it was a seismic shift in our approach to living with volcanoes. Today, scientists globally are more equipped to forecast eruptions and mitigate their impacts, thanks to the cutting-edge methods derived from studying Mount St. Helens. So, what's the takeaway here? We can't stop the restless killers like Mount St. Helens from doing their thing, but we sure can be better prepared to dance with them when they decide to erupt. The lessons learned from that fateful day in 1980 continue to shape our scientific understanding, offering us the tools we need to anticipate and respond to volcanic activity with greater precision and insight. We're no longer just observers, we're active participants in a dialogue with nature, trying every day to be one step ahead, because when it comes to volcanoes, it's all about reading the signs, understanding the story, and planning for the next chapter. As we near the end of our volcanic escapade, let's take a moment to soak in what we've just traversed. Mount St. Helens' 1980 eruption is often dubbed as one of the most violent and memorable episodes in the history of the United States natural disasters. But beyond the awe-inspiring drama and sheer power of nature, there are valuable lessons to be gleaned. First and foremost, this cataclysmic event serves as an enduring reminder of nature's unpredictable nature. Just think about it. Here was a mountain, looking as steadfast as a stone can get, and yet within moments, it turned into a monstrous force of destruction. This underscores a simple truth. We may live comfortably in our homes, surrounded by modern tech and conveniences, but when nature decides to move, it can and will. The key takeaway? Respect and preparedness. Mount St. Helens wasn't just a loud roar followed by silence. It changed the entire landscape, literally and figuratively. It destroyed 230 square miles of forest, altered river paths, and created a new rugged terrain. For local communities, it meant homes, livelihoods, and loved ones lost in a heartbeat. Yet from this devastation rose a spirit of resilience and regrowth. Nature and humanity alike adapted and started anew. The ash-filled lands eventually nurtured new life, and the human communities rebuilt, stronger and wiser. Several decades later, and we're still feeling the echoes of this epic eruption. Advances in volcanology have been a bright spot amid the gray ash-covered memories. Scientists learned invaluable lessons about volcanic activity, how to detect early warning signs, and, equally important, how to communicate these warnings effectively to the public. Monitoring techniques have drastically improved, which means we're better equipped to handle future events. Think of it as nature's grueling way of giving us a crash course in volcanic science. Reflecting on Mount St. Helens, one can't help but think about our relationship with nature. It's a dance, sometimes graceful, sometimes destructive. What does this eruption teach us? Adaptability, respect, and an ever-watchful eye. Living alongside nature isn't an option, it's a necessity, and it calls for constant vigilance and a willingness to learn and grow from every whisper or roar from the earth. In closing, Mount St. Helens stands as a testament to both the ferocity and beauty of our natural world. It's a reminder that we are mere tenants on this planet, and our true strength lies in understanding and coexisting with the forces that shape it. So the next time you hear about a volcanic rumble somewhere, remember that beneath every thrilling tale of eruption and destruction lies a profound lesson, one that might just prepare us for whatever comes next. And with that, we've wrapped up our journey through the story of Mount St. Helens. Thank you for keeping up with this explosive tale, and for immersing yourself in one of nature's most dramatic chapters. Stay curious, stay prepared, and until next time, keep marveling at the wonders of our restless Earth. Thank you for joining me on this volcanic adventure here on Restless Killers and Mysteries with Roger Heilig. I hope you enjoyed getting a glimpse into the dramatic and awe-inspiring story of Mount St. Helens and its cataclysmic 1980 eruption. It's fascinating to think about how an unassuming mountain could suddenly become the focal point of such a powerful natural event, reshaping the landscape and our understanding of volcanic activity. We've traveled through the verdant forests and rugged peaks of the Pacific Northwest, felt the tension building with the early warning signs, and witnessed the monumental eruption that captured the world's attention. And let's not forget the profound impact it had on the environment, local communities, and science itself. If today's episode sparked your curiosity and left you eager for more, you're in luck. Our world is full of restless killers and enthralling mysteries waiting to be uncovered. From the icy stretches of the Antarctic to the scorching deserts of Africa, there are countless stories of natural phenomena and unsolved riddles just aching to be told, and I'll be here to guide you through every twist and turn. So, whether you're a seasoned fan of volcanic lore, or just dipping your toes into the world of natural wonders, there's always something new to discover. Make sure to subscribe and share this podcast with fellow adventurers who crave a good tale as much as you do. And before I sign off, remember, nature is as unpredictable as it is magnificent. Let's continue to respect and learn from it, keeping an eye and an ear out for the signs and wonders that shape our planet. Stay curious, stay safe, and until next time, this is Roger Heilig, signing off from Restless Killers and Mysteries. Stay tuned, as our next episode will take you on another thrilling journey into the unknown. Thanks for listening.